What if the sheriff who held an entire town together was also standing just a few feet away from people whose lives would end in ways nobody could have predicted? Rio Bravo dropped you into one dusty town, one packed jail cell, and one impossible standoff, where a handful of unlikely allies had to hold the line together or lose everything. It felt slow and tense in the best way, like watching pressure build in a bottle right before it finally pops. This film came out in 1959, which means we are talking about people from a movie that is now 67 years old. Some of the faces in that jailhouse went on to live long, remarkable lives. Others were gone far sooner than anyone expected, and one story on this list will genuinely break your heart. Number 1, we have John Wayne, who played Sheriff John T. Chance at 52 years old. Wayne was already the king of the Western when he took this role, and you can feel it in every scene. He barely has to raise his voice, and the whole town falls in line behind him. Born in 1907 in Winterset, Iowa, he had already spent decades building his legend before Rio Bravo added to it. 2 decades later, in 1979, that legend came to an end when Wayne lost his battle with stomach cancer at 72. The man who never needed to rush finally ran out of time, and it still stings. Number 2, we have Dean Martin, who played Dude at 41 years old. You know him as the guy crooning in a tuxedo, but here he plays a drunk deputy clawing his way back to respect, and he does not hide from how broken Dude looks. Born in 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio, Martin proved with this role that he was far more than a Rat Pack smile. He kept singing, kept acting, and kept charming audiences for decades after, right up until 1995, when respiratory failure took him at 78. Dude's comeback in the film hit hard, and so did the real one Martin pulled off in his own career. If you have a favorite Rio Bravo moment, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Number 3, we have Ricky Nelson, who played Colorado Ryan at just 19 years old. He was cool, calm, and impossibly confident for someone barely out of his teens, already a huge name in television and music before he ever picked up a prop gun. Born in 1940 in Teaneck, New Jersey, Nelson had decades of stardom ahead of him, or so it seemed. In 1985, at only 45 years old, he died in a plane crash, cutting short a life that still had so much music left in it. Colorado Ryan walked into danger and walked out fine, but real life was not nearly that kind to Nelson. Number 4, we have Walter Brennan, who played Stumpy at 65 years old. He was loud, funny, and impossible not to love every time he snapped at somebody through the jailhouse bars, and by this point, he already had 3 Oscars sitting on his shelf. Born in 1894 in Lynn, Massachusetts, Brennan had already lived a full career before Rio Bravo even started filming. He kept working for years after, right up until 1974, when emphysema took him at 80. Stumpy could have been a throwaway character, but Brennan turned him into one of the most beloved old-timers in Western history. Number 5, we have Ward Bond, who played Pat Wheeler at 56 years old. He is only in a few scenes, but you believe every second of his friendship with the sheriff. That is how much warmth Bond brought to the role. Born in 1903 in Benkelman, Nebraska, Bond had spent years as one of the most familiar faces in John Ford's westerns. Just 1 year after Rio Bravo hit theaters, in 1960, Bond died suddenly of a heart attack at only 57. He barely got to enjoy this film's success before he was gone. Number 6, we have John Russell, who played Nathan Burdett at 38 years old. He plays the rich, cold rancher who thinks the whole town belongs to him, and Russell never needed to raise his voice to make that believable. Born in 1921 in Los Angeles, California, he later became a Western television staple as Marshal Dan Troop on Lawman. In 1991, Russell died at 70 after a long battle with emphysema. The quiet villain from Rio Bravo turned out to be one of the genre's most respected leading men. That is 6 down and 9 to go, and honestly the story coming up next might be the most heartbreaking one on this whole list, so make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it. Number 7, we have Claude Akins, who played Joe Burdett at 33 years old. He is the spark that sets off the entire standoff, mean, spoiled, and reckless, in a way you want to see locked up immediately. Born in 1926 in Nelson, Georgia, Akins went on to build a long career in westerns and war films before finding a whole new generation of fans on BJ and the Bear. In 1994, cancer took him at 67. The troublemaker who started Rio Bravo's whole crisis ended up becoming one of television's most familiar faces. Number 8, we have Pedro Gonzalez Gonzalez, who played Carlos Rabante at 34 years old. He is not a gunfighter. He is the nervous, funny energy that lightens up every scene he is in, and you cannot help smiling whenever he shows up. Born in 1925 in Aguilares, Texas, he became a familiar character actor who worked alongside John Wayne again and again over the years. He He lived a long life in the business, passing away in 2006 at 80 from natural causes. Carlos may have been comic relief, but Pedro made him impossible to forget. We are already halfway through this list, and it has been over 6 decades since Rio Bravo first hit theaters. Number 9, we have Estelita Rodriguez, who played Consuela Rabante at 31 years old. She is fiery, quick with a comeback, and brings real color to every scene she shares with Carlos, the kind of energy that makes a small role feel bigger than it is. Born in 1928 in Guanabacoa, Cuba, Rodriguez had already shined in Hollywood musicals and westerns for years before this film. Her story ends far too soon, in 1966, when influenza took her life at only 37. That is nearly 60 years ago now, and it still feels unfair that her spark got cut short so young. Number 10, we have Harry Carey Jr., who played Harold at 38 years old. It is a small role, but you believe him completely. He looks like he was born on a dusty western set. Born in 1921 in Saugus, California, Carey spent decades working in John Ford westerns, becoming one of the genre's most trusted supporting faces. He lived one of the longest lives on this entire list, passing away in 2012 at 91 from natural causes. Harold barely says a word, but Carey's presence tells you everything about how much he belonged in that world. Number 11, we have Sheb Wooley, who appeared as a cowboy at 38 years old. It is a brief moment on screen, but he brings a real musical, rugged western flavor to it that you cannot fake. Born in 1921 in Eric, Oklahoma, Wooley was also a singer and songwriter, best remembered for the novelty hit The Purple People Eater, all while still showing up in western after western. He died in 2003 at 82 after a battle with leukemia. Even in a tiny role, Wooley felt like he had stepped straight out of a real trail camp. Number 12, we have Bing Russell, who played the murdered cowboy at 33 years old. His scene is brief, but it is the moment that kicks the entire plot into motion, one instant of violence that changes everything for the rest of the film. Born in 1926 in Brattleboro, Vermont, Russell went on to become a familiar character actor on television westerns, and yes, you might know his son, actor Kurt Russell. He died in 2003 at 76 after a battle with cancer. A tiny role, but Russell's face is the reason the whole story even starts. We drop new stories like this every 2 days, so if you love these then and now breakdowns, hit subscribe and share this with someone who grew up watching this film. Number 13, we have Myron Healy, who appeared as a barfly at 36 years old. He only has a few moments on screen, but his sharp, tough look adds real grit to the saloon. Born in 1923 in Petaluma, California, Healy spent decades in film and television, often playing villains, soldiers, and rough-edged lawmen. He died in 2005 at 82 from natural causes. Even in the background, Healy made the bar feel a little more dangerous. Number 14, we have Fred Aldrich, who appeared as a barfly at 54 years old. He never gets a big moment, but actors like him are the reason the whole town feels lived in and real. Born in 1904 in New York City, Aldrich spent years as a bit player and stuntman, appearing in countless films without ever getting the spotlight. He died in 1979 at 74 after a heart attack. He may be background in every scene, but Rio Bravo would not feel the same without faces like his. Number 15, we have Angie Dickinson, who played Feathers at 27 years old. She is stylish, sharp, and impossible to overlook, holding her own against John Wayne with wit instead of just charm. Born in 1931 in Culm, North Dakota, Dickinson became one of Hollywood's most recognizable actresses in the years after this film, later finding even more fame on Policewoman. That was 67 years ago, and somehow she is still here. As of 2026, Angie Dickinson is 94 years old and living a quiet life far from the spotlight she once commanded. The last one from that jailhouse who can still tell you what it was really like. And when you add it all up, out of 15 people who once stood together in one dusty jailhouse, only one of them is still alive to remember what it was really like to film Rio Bravo.